Welcome back to What's the Obsession. This video has an audio clip of Chris Watts talking during his interview from Dodge Prison in Wisconsin. In this video, he will talk about what he was thinking on the morning of August 13th, 2018. What he was thinking when he talked to the realtor, when he called the kids' school, what he was thinking when he decided to make a plea deal, and he'll also talk about some things that he says he did with some of the evidence that we, to this day, are still wondering about. This video clip will close with Chris Watts talking about his relationship with his father and what happened between them on the day he confessed or partially confessed to this tragedy.
And then did you talk about selling the house? Or at what point did you? There was some discussion there with Ann Meadows.
She had sent an email to Ann about like how we would go about like selling the house.
Yeah.
And I think Ann told her about Ann was always about getting pre-approved. Just like if you're going to sell your house, get pre-approved for like another house, so it's much faster.
Yeah, so you quickly transitioned from one to the other. Okay. When did that happen? Remember?
I think it was either right before we left. No, that had to have been like first week of August, somewhere around there. I think she may have contacted her.
Okay. So the plan was maybe to buy a house. I think you told me in Brighton, you think about buying a house in Brighton.
Yeah, just like she liked that Adams 12 school system or something.
Yeah.
So okay. I think that's what Brighton is. Adams.
Yeah.
What were you thinking about when you called the school that day on Monday?
I was freaking out. I didn't know, I was thinking in my head, what I just did, what I just done, and I didn't know, it was stupid to do anything. To call the school, to call Ann, to call anybody. They were right to be, suspicious about anything. Because I knew I probably sounded eccentric on the phone and out of sorts. And just, I don't even know what they were thinking. They heard me.
I think they thought it was weird, but I don't know how you would not sound weird, like you said.
So are you 100% sure the girls were still around and alive when you drove out? Okay. So that's completely accurate. There's nothing else about that.
They got in the truck.
Okay.
Where did the blanket go?
Either probably in the trash can or something, I think.
In the trash?
It wasn't it was still in my truck.
Okay. We thought we saw some GPS where you had stopped by near construction roll-off dumpster. Is that true, or?
I think that's I dumped my clothes in there.
So that would have been on the way back to the house?
My neighborhood.
Yeah. When Officer Kunab was there? Okay. Was it one of those red construction dumpsters?
More than likely.
Okay.
Did you pack new clothes? How did that work?
I already have some in there because, in case we have a spill or something.
Oh.
If you ever get crude oil on you, you don't. Yeah, I have 2 pairs of boots, all kinds of different stuff in there, just because just one time I had to pick up a spill and I had defrost on, and I had a headache for 2 weeks because it's the crude oil that comes. So I always have something in there.
So where did you keep them after you took them off? Did you just change out there into your new other clothes?
I dumped my clothes in that dumpster.
But that wasn't that on the way back? When you were coming? You'd already worked the whole day, right?
I'd work till 11 or so.
11.
Yeah. So that was back when Nicole Atkinson.
Yeah, when she was
when she
at my
called.
house, hitting the doorbell, that's when I knew I was at the house.
Right.
Did you think right then, oh fuck, here we go? Or what were you thinking then?
I didn't even know why she was there. I didn't know, maybe she had an appointment or something with Shanann. I didn't know.
What did you think, that day, what you were going to say? Like, what was your plan? Were you just gonna go home and be like, report to the police that your family's gone, or?
I had, like, once, like, I had no idea what was going to happen. Like, after everything, I mean, I don't even know how I was even acting even normal to people that I was around. Because when, like, Troy and Cody and Chad and Melissa and all them, like, you know, when they showed up on the site, I don't even know how I was even being somewhat even coherent what I was saying, but apparently they understood me. So I didn't know what was going to happen. Like I said, this wasn't like something like some Criminal Minds type.
Like, well thought out.
Yeah, it wasn't nothing like that.
You're just minute by minute at that point.
Yeah, it was. I had no idea what was going to happen.
So once the girls were gone, was it also just a minute by minute thing as far as the oil tanks?
Yeah, I didn't know what to do. I mean, just thinking about an oil tank just makes me want to throw up.
And was that just because it was in front of you and there it was and just presented itself? It wasn't a plan beforehand? Okay. Was there any reason why the separate ones?
No, it's like I said, it was like going up the stairs, and it didn't. No, like what Frank said is like I was trying to separate everybody. That's not.
No.
I didn't want to separate anybody.
What was the reason?
I can't even tell you. It was like I said, like something else was in control of what I was doing, and it was like I was doing something I never thought I would ever do in my life.
Did you think there would be less chance of someone finding them if they were in separate tanks, or?
I don't know.
Sounds like you're
I whatever my reasoning was in my head that day, it wasn't sound. Nothing was right.
And you don't even remember thinking about it?
No, it was just like like a reaction of something that I wasn't even thinking about.
Yeah.
We talk about the trash bags. Do you remember that?
Oh, with
There were two.
okay. Yeah, I was trying to, because like she kept. I didn't want to, like when I was putting there's one coherent, I guess, thing I had, like I didn't want the girls looking at Shanann while they were in the back seat.
So what'd you do?
Put a trash bag on one end and on her feet and on her head, so they didn't have to see.
And they were just too little to kind of figure out, right?
Yeah, they didn't know.
Okay. That's good.
I just know, like when I was driving up there, I mean, they were just, sitting there, just, kind of asleep or kind of just like, holding on to each other, laying in each other's laps. I didn't.
Do you remember having any thoughts or thinking about why not just putting them all together with Shanann?
Honestly, it was just happening so fast. I had no time to really have a thought that was my own.
Okay.
But I wasn't like dutifully trying to separate anybody passing away, trying to keep anybody separate. And everything, Frank, Sandy, and Frankie said, like I don't hold it against them. I mean, they can hate me for. They have a right to hate me for the rest of their lives.
They don't hate
They
you.
don't. In fact, while we're on the subject, I speak with them weekly, and I told them that we were going to come here, and then hopefully would speak with us. And they told me to tell you, understandably, they're devastated, but they actually said that they love you. They still love you, and Sandy explained it. He's our son-in-law for 8 years. I can't just turn that off. So they don't hate you. They don't.
That's amazing to hear that.
Yeah. Well, and I can tell you, Sandy was the one that was most resistant to penalties in this case, and she said that. She told me that from the very beginning. That she didn't want that. It's God's decision. It's not her decision. And then she told me that even then. So it's not just a one-time thing that that she has said it to me. It's been over the whole course of the event, so that's probably one of the most honest things someone's ever told me. So it's pretty amazing. Faith is, she's obviously a believer. So am I. I get it, so I understand it.
That's amazing to even hear that.
Yeah. Good people.
I would have figured they would have hated me for.
They don't. I mean, yeah, anybody would think that. I certainly would have, but I have to admit I was surprised, really taken back by that, but they certainly don't.
What did they say when they knew you were coming out here?
They said they want to know details because they need closure, and that's really all they want, and they want to keep it private. And I said, well, absolutely. We'll talk to them about what you told us, and just so they can put it past them, because they're having a hard time dealing with it and trying to get past it all. And I think that may help, just to know.
Closures, I mean, my parents still think, like I told them I pled guilty for a reason,
Right.
and like I told it to them when they had that video phone thing in Colorado the day before. Like I pled guilty, I plead guilty for a reason. Like I didn't just, I knew other people were watching. So I didn't just go in and just say anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like they seemed to take it. Like, okay. And
What made you do that, Chris? What made you plead guilty?
I didn't want anybody else to. I didn't want them to go through this for 2 or 4 years. I didn't want my attorneys to lie for me for 2 to 4 years. Like they would have done anything I told them to do.
Sure.
That's what I don't see how they can do that. Like, that's what attorneys do. Like they take their defendant and they say, hey, like, what happened? Okay, we'll go with that story. Like I told them everything I just told you guys. And it's just like, they got together, like, well, if they ever offered a plea deal, would you ever want to, like, just plead guilty to them? Like, yeah, I mean, if we can end this, end it. Like, I was, like, in September, I told them that.
Really?
Yeah, but, it was way too early, and prosecution was still doing their investigation, used to grabbing evidence and all kinds of stuff, and that wasn't even really on the table. So I think it was like around Halloween. I think that's when the prosecution went to Frank and Frankie's house, and it's talking like, if we can end this, would you be open to that? And that's when like the whole death penalty and everything, all that conversation happened. And I guess they were surprised that it would just be over.
Yeah.
And
We were all in shock. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah, that was like.
It's like we were going 100 miles an hour, and then we just hit a brick wall. Like, that's what it felt like to all of us. So, I mean, obviously you had more time to contemplate it than us.
I told John and Kate and Sophia and everybody, Amy, hey, if we can just stop this, and like, I know it's, everybody's telling me to fight this, there's no, like, everybody's saying there's like not enough evidence to such and this and that. And I'm just like, no, this needs to end. Like, I don't want people to have to, because for Frank and everybody to have to fly back to Colorado every single time and get reminded of this. Like, I'm not sure that it's never going to go away, but to actually have to come and talk about it, have other people talk about it, have all three of you get on the witness stand and say what they saw, what they've seen, what they heard on tapes and everything like that. It's just like, I don't want people to live that over and over and over again for years. Like, if I could just end this for everybody, and then like, if there's any closure at all, they could start then instead of like 2022. But, everything just like, so I know it'd only get worse for everybody.
So did it have anything to do with you not having the death penalty?
No, like, I mean, honestly, like, when I was sitting in that cell, I felt like I should die. I mean, I was listening to everybody telling me, like, hey, if you do this and this, you can hang yourself in that cell. You could do this and that.
They were, like, telling you stuff.
Yeah, you could drown yourself in the toilet if you wanted to fill your toilet bowl up or something like that. it was. They've been there a bunch of times, and like I was at one point I was listening to them.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I just felt like maybe there's a different purpose for me somewhere. Maybe it's here. I don't know. Like I prayed to God every day that He would move me away from Colorado, like move me away from like the DOC there, because I just knew like they were saying there was a hit on me. They said if I was going to a DOC in Colorado, like I'd last a week and I'd be dead because of like the gangs and all that kind of stuff. And so like I just felt like God moved me here for a reason. And hopefully I can help people that way. But like I didn't want my family, I didn't want Shanann's family, all of our friends, like having to go through that, because after a while I knew it was like this stuff was everywhere, and I knew like all her Thrive friends, everybody, that was just like it would just broke that hole in their heart just a little bit bigger every time. I didn't want that. I knew it would have gotten worse. I didn't want it to get any worse than it already was.
Did you ever think about, well, it could be very believable what I told him. It could be very believable that Shanann did, end the girls. And so maybe if I tried to convince people that, maybe if I fought with my attorneys on that, maybe I could lessen it somehow. Did you ever think about that?
Honestly, I never even thought about the story until you guys mentioned it.
Yeah. Okay.
I wondered.
I never even thought about it until you guys mentioned it.
So what did you think about it once it got mentioned?
It's just like I just went with it. I didn't I knew my dad was out there. I knew it was like, I knew they would probably believe it because, my mom and my sister just never really liked Shanann. And I knew through all this, like I got letters from some of my friends that even said, when we went to your house, we could see, Shanann was more of a dominant personality and more of like, hey, you're always helping with the kids and everything. And just, you're a great dad and everything. We could see, a couple things that I never saw or, whatnot. And even my best friend Mark even said, there's always, something, I didn't really get with Shanann. I was like, nobody ever told me any of this stuff, but okay. But yeah, I never thought about that story. And, that's what my attorneys were going with. And then I think it was probably the second week I told them what had really happened.
What did they say after that?
They were quiet. They were writing it down. They said they wouldn't judge me. So I told them. I told them everything that happened. And they, appreciated, I guess, most of the time, their defendant or their, defendants don't, tell them actually what happened.
No. Yeah.
They just, tell them, all right, get me out of here. This is what happened. But I told them what happened. I didn't want them going, if this was going to go, anywhere in courts, I didn't want them to be under a false pretense and, get surprised. So I know, there was probably things that you guys probably knew that maybe if I lied to them and just tell them, no, this is what happened, that it would have made them look, foolish and stupid and just unprepared. And I'm just this is what happened. And they, they appreciated me telling them that. So now they would be prepared. And that's when they were saying if it was ever, if we ever went to them, the prosecution, and say, hey, if we could end this, would I be open to it? I'm if it could end it.
I know there was wasn't her phone found on the couch or between the couch cushions? Did you plant all that
I
stuff?
just threw it in there.
You just threw it in there?
I
Why did you do that?
I don't know what was going on that morning. Even her watch, her phone, if I was actually if I'd planned this, I would probably just take it out to the field or something, But,
What about her ring and stuff? What were you thinking about that?
It's maybe she actually really wanted a divorce. Maybe she didn't want to fix it. Just put it there on the counter.
She took it off? Or did you take it off?
I took it off.
Okay. Oh, so that would look like she was saying, I want a divorce, I'm leaving it here when I'm taken off. I see.
So the phone and her watch and the couch, was that morning before you left to go to service? Okay.
That's, I think, Nicole's son found it or something.
Yeah.
What other things did you do that maybe we even missed?
tried the phone and watch. You know, I think I threw the therapy book she wanted me to read in the trash.
That was that morning.
I think so.
Were you trying to make it look like she threw it in the trash?
I don't know. I just
Oh.
I just didn't think nothing was ever going to work again. So I didn't know what was going on.
Did you go down to the basement? I thought the basement door open.
Yeah, the door is open, but yeah. So there was a lot of movement. I think it was around 4:26 or something. And the garage door opening, the basement door opening, and then of course the living room sensors and all. Do you remember what you were doing all during that time? Other than
You had a
going
lot of
in and out
steps.
the garage.
I'll just say that.
Okay. So like the basement, I'm not sure. I mean, the only thing I really have down there is my workout, the bench press and whatnot.
Do you remember going down there for anything or opening that door for anything? Did you think about, well, maybe I'll take her out that way, or is it a walkout basement?
No.
It wasn't at your house. Okay.
It's like a garden level basement. So
Okay.
But no, I don't remember really. I don't think I worked out that morning.
Like, were you packing your lunch in the kitchen? Like, did you
Oh,
have to
yeah.
do all that normal
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely packed my lunch and everything. Did all that. I don't remember about the basement. Unless I just worked out that morning, I just don't remember. I don't think I did.
So one of the more,
Unless there was a trash bag down there at that time.
Yeah, you got trash bags from there.
Maybe there wasn't any in the garage, and I went down there and got one.
Do you normally carry a roll of trash bags in your truck?
No.
So there was a roll in your truck.
I was?
Yeah.
Maybe I just grabbed it and brought it with me then.
That would have been kept in the basement, maybe? Or
Basement or the garage.
or the garage. I'm sorry, what were you saying, Graham?
one of the more kind of poignant or tender moments in all of this was seeing you with your dad when he came in. What was it like when you picked him up at the airport?
It was very strange. It was kind of like I almost knew this was probably the last time I'd ever see him on the outside. In my head, I knew that.
Yeah. What'd you guys talk about?
Honestly, like he just wanted to talk about sports. He just like, he's always the kind of like, distance himself from like a problem type thing. Like, when, like if there was ever an issue or anything like that, he always want to talk about like, just bring up, like when I was trying to get him to quit smoking, like all the time, like that's after like I graduated high school and whatnot, he would.
Are you talking about cigarettes?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he would always like just change stuff. He'd be like, oh, you never know what happened in the race, football, or something. I mean, he just never wanted like, he said, okay, oh, yeah, I'll get to it. And he was boom, something else. And, I just kind of felt like it was kind of like that, like he asked like a few questions, like, do you know where they're at? And do you think, you know where they're at or anything like that? And I just, told him no. And then like, just want to talk about sports and just like normal things. Just kind of, I'm not sure if he maybe knew anything, maybe he kind of figured out something maybe happened and just wanted to talk to me as his son.
Is it possible he saw that you were in a stressful situation and wanted to do what he always did, make
Yeah.
things comfortable?
I think that was a good way to put it.
I bet you picked up a lot of that from him.
Yeah, because in stressful situations, like the gray hair didn't show it, but like I try not to be in stress.